Hi, Kong Mika. Good morning po.
Good morning.
Ma'am, about lang po dun sa issue ng transparency, may I ask your reaction lang? Kanina kasi nagpa-interview din si Kabataan Party List Representative Rene Ko, at ang sinabi naman din niya, bukod dun sa pagla-livestream, like for example, ng mga budget process dito sa House, ang hinihiling nila, i-livestream yung BICAM and other processes, pero at the same time, gawing ding mas accessible sa publiko. Kunyari, may mga report din, hindi lang basta livestream, kundi talagang naka-publish lahat ng mga information na madidiscuss. Ano pong masasabi nyo rito?
Siguro po unahin ko po yung patungkol sa live stream ng the Bicameral Conference Committee. I believe that was one of during our very first meeting, yung unang press conference ko po bilang chairperson ng Committee on Appropriations, I already gave the commitment of the House that the leadership is very much supportive of the thrust towards opening the Bicameral Conference Committee deliberations. At naging masaya po ako kasi last week po mismong si Presidente Bongbong Marcos na po yung nagsabi na il-livestream po yung Bicameral Conference Committee. So again, the House is very much in support. I believe Speaker Boji D has also said the same. He came out with a statement supporting the open Bicameral Conference Committee deliberation. So, very supportive din po ako pagdating po sa Open Bicam. In terms of the other documents po, we have again, a lot of these documents po kasi would need to be, we would need to know which specific documents they would need greater access to. Kasi halimbawa po, for the first time, in-upload po yung third reading version ng GAB sa website ng House of Representatives immediately after its approval. And I believe that is the commitment that we gave our partners in the Senate, that we will make that immediately available to them as soon as we approve the General Appropriations Bill on third and final reading. In terms of other reports, halimbawa po, kunwari, sa susunod po, pag merong BARC, kung gusto po ng reports, pwede rin naman po nating ilabas yan. Kasi po naka-livestream naman po, so kitang-kita po ng lahat yung Excel file. But if other members of the House and other members of the public would like a formal document to be uploaded, particularly with regard to the BARC, pwede din po natin gawin yon. So I would be very happy to talk to Congresswoman Ko as to which documents they would like better access to moving forward.
Opo. And last na lang po, ma'am, from my end, sa ngalan ng House Committee on Appropriations and even sa Kamara, kasi hindi pa rin po natatapos yung mga nagsasabing, sinabi rin ng Makabayan Block na may pork barrel system pa rin, sinasabi na may 600 plus billion pesos of it, and even yung mga civil society organizations, ito din yung palagi nilang sinasabi habang nandito pa rin sa level ng Senate naman ngayon yung bilang pinuno po ng House Committee on Appropriations, ano pong masasabi nyo rito sa issue ng pork barrel at assurance na rin sa ating mga kababayan?
Maraming salamat po. Sinisigurado po natin na wala pong pork barrel funds sa budget para sa taong 2026. Alam ko po yung mga particular na programa na binabanggit po sa usapin na ito. Kadalasan po ang nadidinig ko yung AIX, MAIP at TUPAD. And on the part of the House, we have always maintained that in terms of post-enactment interventions, the House never engages in post-enactment interventions. Ibig sabihin po, kapag naaprubahan na po ang budget po para sa mga programa na ito ay napupunta sa mga kanya-kanyang mga ahensya. Halimbawa po, sa kaso ng AIX, nasa DSWT po, sa kaso ng MAIP, nasa DOH, sa kaso ng TUPAD, nasa DOLE. So, yun po, nandun po yun. At nasa discretion po ng ahensya kung papaano po i-disburse ng ahensya. They have their own internal guidelines, they have their own internal procedures as to how to disburse these funds. At wala pong intervention ang Kongreso patungkol po sa ng mga programa na to. Another characteristic of pork barrel funds, as it's known in the past, would be its lump sum nature. At kung nakita nyo naman po yun, nakadetalye po lahat ngayon. Wala pong mga nakatago na pondo, wala pong mga nakatago o mga nakabaon na mga programa. Kaya po, atin pong maibibigay ang kasiguraduhan sa ating mga kababayan na wala pong pork barrel funds sa ating budget para sa taong 2026 at sa mga susunod na taon po sa ilalim po na aking liderato bilang chairperson ng Committee on Appropriations.
Next question. Janet.
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, critics have criticized nga yung budget process for this year na parang medyo naging tokenistic in nature yung mga budget reforms that you forwarded. What steps could you or the committee take to ensure that the budget process reforms you have initiated could be more concrete and tangible in the next budget process?
Thank you very much po. Actually, during my manifestation before the third reading approval of the General Appropriations Bill, I have been very open about that this is the very first time that we've done this. This is the very first time that the House has engaged with civil society organizations, particularly in terms of the budget. And admittedly, there are particular aspects of the process that we would still need to refine moving forward. At hiningi ko din po yung pasensya ng ating mga partners sa civil society sapagkat alam ko po na may mga pagkakataon na hindi kasing lapit yung engagement model as they would have expected. And the assurance that I would give to our partners in the civil society would be moving forward in the period between this budget season and the next budget season. I would more closely coordinate with them. Tulad po ng ginawa ko ng People's Budget Review, tinanong ko po sa kanila papaano pa natin pwedeng mapaganda yung proseso. And I will be very happy to work closely with them over the next months to refine our engagement models para po sa susunod na budget cycle ay mas maganda na po, mas bukas, mas transparent, mas malapit yung ating engagement sa kanila. Actually, ayoko pong hintayin pa yung sunod na budget cycle eh. I know that the Bicameral Conference Committee is coming up and a lot of the civil society organizations are also advocating for greater engagement, greater transparency in the BICAM process. So between now and the BICAM around December, I'll reach out to our friends in civil society to discuss how else we can refine our engagement models.
And on the unprogrammed appropriations naman po, can you explain why the House retained nearly all of the unprogrammed appropriations despite making it seem like tens of billions was cut from standby funds nga po? Ayun.
Opo. Tulad po ng pinakita natin kanina, sa ilalim po ng unprogrammed appropriations, there are 11 purposes for unprogrammed appropriations. And the reason why we retained the majority of it would be because these are necessary funds that would need to be put on standby for fiscal year 2026. As showed earlier, roughly 54% of the in-programmed appropriations pertain to foreign-assisted projects, and that would be something that we would really need to have on standby. The other part of it would be those pertaining to strengthening assistance to social programs amounting to 45 billion pesos. As you can see po, nakalagay naman po kasi yon nakaabang po yon para sa PhilHealth, sa DepEd, sa DOH, sa DOLE, at sa CHED. So these are items that would be necessary and would be very helpful for the country. And lastly po, sa AFP modernization, actually po, as also explained earlier, mas malaki pa nga po yung funding requirement as per the AFP modernization law. So there's 40 billion under programmed appropriations right now, 50 billion under unprogrammed appropriations. We still have around, I think, 20 to 30 billion deficit despite having this in unprogrammed appropriation. So, kung titignan po kasi natin, kung hihimayan din po natin yung utilization rate ng unprogrammed appropriations nitong mga nakadaang taon, hindi naman po talaga nagagamit yung or hindi po napopondohan yung kadamihan ng unprogrammed appropriations. Naglalagay lang po tayo ng line item doon para lang po may legal basis. Kung sakali magkakaroon po ng kadagdagang pondo o kadagdagang kita ang ating gobyerno, meron po tayong legal basis na pondohan itong mga programa na ito. So, we retained the unprogrammed appropriations, but we also are very adamant in putting in safeguards. Nakita po natin, paulit-ulit po na nakatalakayan sa ating mga deliberasyon na isa po sa mga pinaka-questionable na item sa ilalim ng unprogrammed appropriations ay yung dating tinatawag na sagip. At ang dahilan po kung bakit questionable yon dahil ang dami pong nabatak doon ng mga flood control projects at iba pa ng mga infrastructure projects na dapat sana ay nakalagay sa ilalim ng programmed appropriations. Kaya yun po yung ating ginawa. Opo, atin pong pinanatili yung level ng unprogrammed appropriations, pero sinigurado po natin na may sapat na safeguards, may sapat na panangga laban sa pang-aabuso. Tulad po ng binanggit ko, hindi na po pwedeng bumatak ng flood control, ng kalsada at ng tulay mula po sa dating tinatawag na sagip. So ang pwede na lang po ng mga infrastructure projects would be infrastructure projects pertaining to foreign assisted projects.
The next question
May
comes from
Isa
Ms.
po.
Lianes Capanti of...
last follow-up po.
sorry.
Sorry, may bagong line item kasi under unprogrammed appropriations, yung government counterpart for foreign assisted projects. Could you differentiate anong pinagkaiba nung support to FAPS and itong government counterpart
Apo.
for FAPS?
I'll flash the slide po. I think share. Ayan po. Dito po, as you can see, the first item that was mentioned would be number 3, support to foreign assisted projects, and 4 would be government of the Philippines counterpart of foreign assisted projects. Bawat foreign assisted project may dalawang component. Yung una po would be the loan proceeds. Yung loan proceeds po, yun po yung ipinopondo galing po doon sa ating international partner. So yun po yung galing sa JICA, galing sa COICA, galing sa ADB, galing sa World Bank. Yun po yung loan proceeds. At yung loan proceeds po nakapaloob sa number 3. Yung pangalawang sangay po ng foreign assisted projects would be what you call GOP counterpart. Ibig sabihin po, sa agreement, may parte po na sagot ng ating international development partner, may parte na sagot ng ating bansa. Para din po yung mga counterpart projects ng mga local government units dito po sa ating bansa. Usually, halimbawa po kung magtatayo ka ng rice processing center sa isang probinsya, may 10% na counterpart yung mga LGUs. Parang ganun din po yung modelo ng foreign assisted project. So that's the reason why for the same project, there is always a loan proceeds component and there is a GOP counterpart component. So yun po yung diferensya ng number 3 at number 4.
Kong, sorry.
Nasel si ano mo na.
Connected
Tina
lang
muna,
doon.
Sandali
Ma'am,
lang.
Yes po.
yung connected to the question of Kenneth,
Yes,
why was it not in the NEP?
Apo. Tulad po ng nabanggit kanina, may dalawa po kasi, there are 2 criteria that would need to be satisfied for foreign assisted projects to be incorporated into the NEP. So the first would be during the budget preparation stage, there would need to be a perfected contract or perfected agreement with our international development partner. The second criteria po would be this particular perfected contract or agreement would need to be approved by the NEDA board. And the only reason why these projects are not in programmed appropriations is that these projects were not approved on time or ongoing pa po yung kanilang negotiation. So again, the ideal scenario would be to have all of these foreign assisted projects under programmed appropriations. Pero yun lang po yung dahilan. Halimbawa po, ito pong DSWD and DOH sa baba. Yung DOH po, ongoing FAPs na po yan. Pero hindi po na-approve yung extension ng loan in time. For DSWT po, it was a newly approved loan last October 7 lang po. So that's the reason why pinasok po muna siya sa unprogrammed appropriations. And then, yun po, hindi po siya nakapasok sa deadline para sa programmed appropriations.
Ma'am, pero bakit po yung amount is the exact amount na nagko-correspond doon sa infrastructure projects from Sagip?
Kasi dati po, actually, inayos po yan ng DBM. Kasi dati naipasok nila sa Sagip yung GOP counterpart. So yung 35 billion na GOP counterpart, yung linipat natin dito po sa GOP counterpart, ito pong number 4, naipasok po ng DBM yan doon sa strengthening assistance, yung dating Sagip. So, yun po yung dahilan. Ngayon kasi, since we're already disallowing infrastructure from the first purpose, that is the reason why we transferred it as a Government of the Philippines counterpart. I understand po, ma'am, the concern, and I also raised that to the DBM, that since it's a foreign-assisted project, it shouldn't go under Sagip. So, yun po. I understand that, ma'am. That's why we put it out. And mas tama na po itong ginawa natin. May safeguard po tayo. That way, wala na pong pwedeng infra na mabatak mula po sa purpose number 1.
Thank you.
Thank you very much po.
Nasel, your
Hello,
turn.
good afternoon, ma'am. Yanes Kapanti of GMA News Online. Ma'am, kasi SP Soto already said, and Senator Win Gatchalian, they said they want the unprogrammed appropriations removed. Ang gusto lang nilang itira yung FAPs. How do you respond to that? I'm assuming you'll be part of the BICAM as the APRO chair. So how would you deal with that kung ganun yung maging stand ng Senate? What are the implications if that will be the case kung yun lang, FAPs lang?
Yes po. Thank you po. So actually, I'm very much open to discussing with the Senate in terms of how we can potentially rationalize the contents within unprogrammed appropriations. But as you can see here po, there are other programs po kasi that would really need to be there. For example po, aside from FAPs, we would need to maintain budgetary support for government-owned and controlled corporations. Because if we don't have these, we can have commitment penalties. So, yun lang po. I would be very open to discussing with them as to why particular programs can be rationalized. Perhaps one thing that they can look at, instead of totally removing AFP modernization, we can talk about reducing the 50 billion. Parang ganun po. So, rather than zeroing out the particular items under unprogrammed appropriations, one option is to explore reducing it. So, yun po. I believe it has to be a ongoing conversation on the part of the House and on the part of the Senate. Because also DBM and Malacanang have been very, very vocal about this, na may mga particular na programa po sa ilalim ng unprogrammed appropriations na kailangang i-maintain. So, I would be very happy to discuss with the Senate. So, hindi naman po sarado sa parte ng House na kailangan po itong buong 243 billion pesos ay manatili. Hindi po yun saradong usapin. Sana din po sa parte din po ng Senado, sana hindi din po saradong usapin na ang ititira lang talaga sa unprogrammed appropriations ay yung FAPs at wala nang iba. Kasi base po sa huli ko pong narinig mula po sa aking pong counterpart sa Senado, ang chairman po ng Committee on Finance, I believe Senator Win Gatchalian mentioned that he's looking at retaining FAPs only those FAPS projects with ODA or official development agreements. And the amount that was mentioned was around 40 to 50 billion pesos only. So I would like to have that conversation with Senator Gatchalian as to how they came up with that figure. Because in terms of our computation, the total for FAPS would be around 133 billion. And in terms of those programs that have finalized ODAs, we are looking at around 85 billion pesos. So yun po siguro yung mga kailangan nating pag-usapan na papaano po natin pwedeng i-rationalize. Ulitin ko po, hindi po saradong usapin sa parte ng Kamara. Hindi naman po namin sinasabi na kailangan i-retain yung buong 243 billion pesos. We are open to discussions with the Senate on how we can rationalize the items under unprogrammed appropriations.
Thank you po. Ma'am, yung second question ko about yung 13.8 billion for scholarships na saan po siya galing? Kasi 'di ba yung 12 billion special provision, I understand, yung sa UACTEP. But yung 13.8 billion additional scholarships,
Apo.
galing po ba yun ng DPWH?
Yes
or-
po. Kabuuan po nito, kabuuan po ng 13 billion pesos ay nagmula po sa 255.5 billion pesos na binatak mula po sa DPWH. Yung 12 billion pesos po, kanina, yung sa deficiency to SUCs, hindi po lahat yun sa special provision lang. 7.8 billion pesos po ay galing po sa special provision ng HEDF, and the remaining 4.4 billion pesos was also funded from the 255 billion pesos of DPWH. So, in total po, we were able to pull an additional 18.2 billion pesos for scholarships from the 255 billion pesos from flood controls in DPWH.
Last na po on my part, yung 113 billion po for PhilHealth, what does this mean for PhilHealth members? Like, I think most of us here.
Opo. Thank you, Ma'am Yanesca. I actually have been trying to press PhilHealth to I've manifested that several times during all the hearings and during the BARC deliberations even that sa akin pong parte, tatlo po sana yung gusto kong makita na gagawin ng PhilHealth. Doon po sa 113 billion pesos na ating pong ipagkakatiwala sa kanila. Una po, sana mas mapalawak nila, mas mapataas nila yung benefits package para sa mga pasyente. Pangalawa, sana po mas mapababa nila yung premium para po sa mga direct contributors. At pangatlo po, sana mabayaran nila yung kanilang mga obligasyon sa mga ospital. Yun po yung tatlo na gusto po sana naming makita galing po sa PhilHealth. And one of the manifestations that I gave is that we even gave PhilHealth a deadline to give us a detailed analysis of how they can actually improve the benefits package. I still need to talk to PhilHealth kasi po nung nakita namin yung expansion na balak nilang gawin, medyo sa mata po ng Kongreso, medyo hindi pa po sapat yun. Kasi gusto po sana namin, kung naalala nyo po, nung deliberation, hinihingi ko po mas mapataas ng sobra yung kanilang binibigay para sa angiogram at angioplasty. Ngayon po kasi parang 9,000 pesos lang yata yung binibigay nila para sa angiogram at alam naman po natin na minimum 50,000 pesos yung angiogram. So yun po yung tatlo na gusto ko makita na gagawin ng PhilHealth at medyo kailangan pa po naming, medyo dikdikin pa po yung PhilHealth para makuha yung commitment nila dito. Thank you po.
Next, Haj.
Hi, Kong Mika. Magandang
Hi, Sir
hapon po.
Haji.
Ma'am, there was a senior minority lawmaker na who urged President Marcos to replace the DBM chief. Ang pinopoint out po kasi niya, parang may negligence, extreme negligence and gross incompetence on their part, especially sa mga nakalipas po na budget 2023, 2024, and then 2025. Of course, you've worked with DBM officials, particularly Secretary Amina Pangandaman for the 2026 budget. But question is, meron po bang based on your observations and yung pakikipagtulungan po ninyo sa DBM, may mga pagkakataon po ba na may ganoon na issues surrounding DBM? I mean, ano po masasabi ninyo sa mga DBM officials na nakatrabaho po ninyo? Kasi parang sinasabi, replacing the DBM chief would send a strong message na kung talagang serious daw po ang administration for reforms sa budget process. Thank you po.
Thank you po. I have the greatest respect for Secretary Amena Pangandaman. I have worked very closely with her. I have always seen her as the best economist I've worked with. Of course, aside from Sec RC, because I also love Sec RC. I have the highest respect for her, not only for Secretary Pangandaman, but for all of the officials in DBM. Sa totoo lang po, para po sa kalaman ng lahat, ito pong usapin tungkol sa unprogrammed appropriations, lalo na po nung naging mainit na usapin po ito sa social media at sa iba pa, talaga pong nag-uusap kami na paano ba natin pwedeng ayusin itong unprogrammed appropriations, paano po natin masisigurado na hindi ito maaabuso sa taong 2026. And honestly, when we were doing all of those discussions, and even during the plenary deliberations, when members of the minority would have specific suggestions, particularly towards lump sum funds, UA, even in terms of the general provisions, makikita ko po and I say this with the utmost sincerity. Kitang-kita ko po sa parte ng DBM na pag may na-recognize sila na point, na uy, okay yan tama yan. Sila pa yung unang magsasabi na, sige, Chair Mika, go, okay kami dyan sa amendment na yan. Isa pong halimbawa, yung sa GIP, yung nung ilang beses po na bring up yon sa deliberation, sila pa yung una nagsabi na, Chair, okay kami dyan. Kung tatanggalin talaga yung infrastructure mula sa GIP, sige, okay kami. Sila pa nga po yung nag-draft nung version ng special provision patungkol doon. So, I understand that there are instances or things that have transpired that may have called into question the safeguards, the evaluation, the assessment processes and guidelines within the DBM. But I really see the sincerity in the good men and women of DBM to continually improve their processes. Ang dami din po nila na ina-advocate ng mga transparency measures, yung open budget, yung Project Dime. They have a lot of transparency measures as well. So, even with the recognition that there might have been instances in the past wherein certain guidelines would need to be reinforced or amended, nakikita ko po yung sinseridad sa ating mga kasama sa DBM na talagang gusto talaga nilang ayusin yung proseso.
So, ibig sabihin man parang naayos na rin nila yung instances na yun kasi may binabanggit na parang may huge sums of money raw po na nag-disappear from the DPWH appropriations. Yun po yung ipinunto ng minority of lawmaker, in particular si Congressman Erice po. Tapos ang binabanggit din po kasi niya, parang may may influence daw from powerful legislators daw po kasi kaya parang siguro na-influensyahan daw po yung DBM.
I would be very happy to discuss with Senior Deputy Minority Leader Erice with regard to that. I would be keen to know ano po yung particular na ehemplo na kanyang iniisip doon sa nawawalang pondo mula sa DPWH. Alam ko po ang isa sa mga natalakay yung malaki na nabatak mula sa dating SAGIP na flood control projects. But I would be very keen to know. Medyo mahirap po kasing sagutin nang hindi ko po alam yung particular na programa na tinutukoy po ni SDML Erice. But I'd be very happy to discuss with him po. Again, in 2026, I would be very adamant na kung ano man po yung mga nakaligtaan na mga guidelines o safeguards sa nakaraan, aayusin po natin yon, paiigtingin po natin yon para sa 2026 para masigurado po na hindi maaabuso yung pondo para sa susunod na taon.
Super last na lang po. So, Secretary Pangandaman should stay.
For me po, yes. I see the hard work that she puts in, her integrity, and her love for her work. So yes, I firmly believe that Secretary Amena Pangadaman should stay. Thank you po.
We're down to the last three questions. The first comes from Rosalie Cos of UNTV.
Hi Kong, good afternoon po.
Hi, Ma'am
Binawasan po yung pondo ng Office of the Vice President for 2026. Anong mangyayari po sa binawas na pondo? Saan po yun mapupunta?
Opo, yung kabuuan po ng na kaltas sa Office of the Vice President ay inilipat po sa MAIFIP. So, 156 million po yun sa kabuuan. Kasi po, yung ilan po sa mga particular na programa na atin pong kinaltasan, kung naaalala nyo po, tinitignan po natin yung financial assistance and subsidy. Kasi po, ang ating pong napag-usapan ay dapat po nasa ahensya po yun. Nasa ahensya. The budget for financial assistance and should be lodged in the different agencies like DSWD, DOH, or DOLE. So, yun po yung ginawa natin. Binatak po natin yun at lahat po yun napunta po sa MAIFIP. Pero tulad po nung kondisyon na akin pong ibinigay, nung atin pong inaprubahan yung motion ni Congresswoman De Lima na ibalik po yung level ng Office of the Vice President sa level ng 2025, may dalawa po akong kondisyon na inilatag doon. Una, kailangan po maprotektahan yung interes ng mga personnel sa loob po ng Office of the Vice President. So, malaki po kasing parte noong increase sa OVP budget na pinanukala ng DBM ay patungkol po sa salary standardization law, yung pagtaas po ng kanilang sahod. So, yun po, prinotektahan po natin yon. So, yung increase na pinanukala ng DBM para sa sahod ng mga OVP employees, retain po natin yon sa third reading version ng GAB. Pangalawa po na kondisyon ko na kailangan po kung makakaltasan man ang OVP, kailangan po yung pondo na matitira sa Office of the Vice President ay sapat para maipagpatuloy nila na magampanan ang mandato ng opisina. And with that po, even with the reduction, tumaas pa rin po yung kanilang supplies expense, tumaas pa rin po yung kanilang rent expense, yung operational expenses nila, tumaas pa rin po. So even if the overall total was reduced by 150 million pesos to return the level to the 2025 levels, tumaas pa din po yung iba-ibang mga components ng budget ng Office of the Vice President.
The next question comes from...
Sorry po, may follow-up lang po ako. Opo, two more, sorry. Ano po palang stand nyo po as APRO Chair sa calls to make public yung congressional proponents sa mga DPWH projects? We understand sa HGAB, nakalagay naman po yun yung congressional district, magkano yung allocation sa DPWH projects, pero walang particular kung sino yung proponent. Si Congressman Chanco po, nanawagan din na kahit yung pong mga party list proponent, i-publicized yung pong party list proponents sa DPWH projects. Ano pong stand nyo?
Actually po, sinusubukan ko po sigurong intindihin ano po yung proponent na tinutukoy. Kasi po kung makikita nyo po yung budget ng DPWH ngayon, lahat po yun ay nagmumula sa kanya-kanyang mga district engineering offices ng iba't ibang mga probinsya. So yun po, actually kung titignan nyo ang proponent nun, ang lalabas po nun, ang proponent nun ay ang district engineering office. So, yun po siguro yung aking katanungan doon na ano pong proponent yung tinutukoy nila, ano po yung hinahanap nila. Kasi dalawa lang naman po yung pwedeng, at tatlo po, yung pwedeng pagmulan ng isang proyekto na napapaloob sa NEP. Una po, nag-emanate siya from the District Engineering Office. Second, pwede pong galing sa regional office ng DPWH. O pangatlo, especially with regard to flagship programs. Sa central office po siya ng DPWH nagmumula. So siguro yun po yung level na pwedeng maipakita ng DPWH in terms of the proponents for different projects. Either nag-emanate siya from the district engineer office, from the regional office, or the central office.
Okay. Last na lang po, sorry. Bukod po dun sa efforts to open the BICAM to public, ano po ang stand niyo po as House APRO Chair dun po sa expanding the minority representations po ng House sa BICAM?
Actually po, that's something that I am still taking a look at. Tinitignan po natin if there is a legal requirement in terms of the composition of the bicameral conference committee conferees. So pwede po naman nating tignan yan. Again, I recognize the very valuable inputs of the minority. As you can see po, sa Budget Amendments Review Subcommittee, mismong si Minority Leader Marcelino Libanan ay parte ng BARC. At bukod sa kanya, meron pang dalawa, si Kong Alan T. at si Kong Stephen James Tan, na parte po ng BARC. So I really recognize the invaluable inputs of the minority. So we can take a look at that po. Definitely happy to explore that. Thank you po.
Next, Dwight of Rappler.
Hello po, Congresswoman. Good morning.
Hi, Dwight.
Ma'am, clarify ko lang kanina dun sa explanation nyo sa unprogrammed appropriations. Yung so 35 billion pesos, it was removed from SAGIP, but na-retain pa rin kasi yung amount na yon sa buong unprogrammed appropriations. Ano ba yung direct impact nun sa paglilipat to the government of the Philippines counterpart of foreign assisted projects? Kasi kanina sa pagkakasabi nyo, parang yung government counterpart, it was originally in SAGIP. Like, can we say ba that because naging new line item siya, hindi na siya magagamit to local flood control projects? Ano ba yung may safeguards bang na-introduce by making a new line item out of it? Kasi baka isipin ng mga tao na, ay parang ginawa, nandun pa rin yung pera, ginawa niyo lang ng new line item.
Thank you, Sir Dwight. That's something that I am really hoping to clarify. Ang dahilan po kung bakit binatak natin siya, kasi ang intention po talaga natin dun sa dating SAGIP ay tanggalin na yung infra mula doon. Kasi doon nga po nababatak yung flood control dati, kahit yung mga kalsada at mga tulay. So by taking out the FAPs from the first purpose, we are able to put in the safeguard there na definitively bawal na yung infrastructure projects dyan. So putting it out, putting the FAPs infrastructure out from the former SAGIP allows us to put in more stringent safeguards to ensure that it would no longer be abused. So, yun po. Kasi kung meron pang infra doon, hindi natin definitively matanggal yung infrastructure from the authorized purposes or authorized uses of purpose number 1, yung strengthening assistance to social programs. So, by taking it out, pwede nating lalong higpitan yung special purpose 1.
Ma'am, pero dito sa bagong line item, sorry, pardon my ignorance, ito ba pwede pa rin gamitin for flood control projects yun?
Let me check lang po sa kasalukuyan po kasi na tignan ko lang po yung breakdown ng kasi yung nakita ko po na mga malalaking proyekto ngayon doon, Metro Manila Rail, Metro Manila Subway, North-South Railway, sali lang po, buksan ko lang po. May nakita din po kasi ako ng mga DSWD. Diyan po buksan ko lang po. May detailed po ako na laman ng FAPs eh. I also want to be very specific with the answer, Sir Dwight. So let me just quickly pull this out. Ayun po. Yun po. Ang laman po nitong GOP ngayon. So the question po is whether there's a flood control project here. Kadamihan po kasi dito, sa DAR, meron pong tulay. Sa DOH, may nutrition project, so hindi po siya infra. Sa DPWH, nandito po bridges, Connector Bridge, Bypass, Central Mindanao Standard Highway, San Juanico Bridge is here. Meron pong integrated disaster risk reduction and climate adaptation in low-lying areas in Pampanga Bay, but I don't think that's flood control po. And then accelerated water and sanitation project in selected areas. So definitely within DPWH po, sa 35 billion po, or even the whole 133 billion, wala pong flood control projects ngayon doon, even under FAPS. DSWD, e-vouchers po for food insecurity at saka Philippine Community Resilience Project. Sa DOTR po, as mentioned, Metro Manila Subway Project, North-South Commuter Railway, MRT Line 3 Rehab, MRT Line 4 Project, PNR Railway, LRT, Mindanao Railway Project, acquisition of 40 units of fast patrol crafts, Maritime Safety Capability Improvement Project, Cebu Bus Rapid Transit, and EDSA Greenways Project. So even across the board, ngayon po sa 133 billion under FAPS, wala pong flood control projects doon.
Last two questions na lang po. Yung una po, technical question lang po. Yung breakdown po ba makikita sa HGAB? Kasi I checked the unprogrammed appropriation section, hindi ko makita yung breakdown. Or is it in bawat agency ba? As of...
Opo. Actually po, wala. For unprogrammed appropriations po, wala. Wala po sa yung breakdown. But there is one. I'll check lang po with the DBM if we can share it to all. Kasi the only reason lang po why there's some sensitivity around it, there are development partners po kasi who do not want to publicize particular projects unless the negotiation phase is already finalized or the contracts would be finalized. So I just need to check with the DBM in terms of the sensitivities po. We also do not want to endanger certain contract negotiations for ODA projects, but to the extent possible po, we can share that.
Okay, and last question na lang on a different matter. Kasi yung ibang mga kongresista, naglalabas na po ng kanilang kopya ng SAL-N. There are 3 from Akbayan, 3 from Makabayan, 1 from the Visayas. Kayo po ba ay, do you commit to also releasing a copy of your SAL-N anytime soon?
Actually po, I believe Speaker Boji D has he released a statement saying that they would revisit the guidelines for releasing SAL-Ns for all House members. So kung ano po yung direction ng House leadership on that, I will comply po.
Next.
Okay po. Thank
Last
you.
question comes from Ms. Vivian Gulia.
Hi, ma'am. Good afternoon. You did say that you are open to reducing the unprogrammed appropriations, proposed unprogrammed appropriations for 2026. Pero non-negotiable po ba sa inyo yung FAPS, na FAPS lang ang i-retain?
Kung titignan po kasi natin yung laman, bubuksan ko lang po ulit yung unprogrammed.
So hindi kayo papayag kung FAPS lang ang gusto ng Senate?
Medyo delikado lang po kasi halimbawa po yung Marawi Siege Victims Compensation Program, that is something that we need to retain. Yung isa po, yung sa strengthening assistance for social programs, tulad po ng binanggit ko, there have been a lot of instances in the past. For example po, yung ngayon, dito po sa ilalim, yung unprogrammed appropriations na naka-standby sa loob po na AIX. May mga pagkakataon po kasi talaga na kailangan nating mabatak yon. Sa totoo lang po, ang takot ko po, kung i-wipe out natin lahat ng laman ng unprogrammed appropriations, halimbawa po, ito pong mga nakapaloob sa strengthening assistance for social programs. If there comes a time that there's sana naman po sa awa ng Diyos hindi mangyari, pero kung magkaroon po ng malaking kalamidad, kung magkaroon po ng kailangang national health emergency na kailangan pong respondihan, kung hindi po natin bibigyan ng legal basis for funding these items, hindi po tayo makakabatak. Siguro po, bukod po sa ngayong taon na nakabatak po tayo ng 5 bilyong piso para po tugunan at rumisponde po doon sa mga naapektuhan ng bagyo at lindol sa Masbate, sa Cebu at Davao. Several instances in the past. In terms of COVID, actually po, unprogrammed appropriations yung unang binatakan ng gobyerno para agad-agad na matulungan yung mga health emergency practitioners, yung mga frontliners natin, dun po bumatak sa unprogrammed appropriation. So there, I've had this conversation with the DBM as to what could happen if we take out all of the items under unprogrammed appropriations. And they were saying that yes, that's a possibility, but we really lose our flexibility to respond to emergencies and unforeseen circumstances. Kasi po, sa ilalim ng NDRRMF, meron pong nandun. Merong roughly 30 billion pesos, tama ba, na nasa calamity fund. Pero yung calamity fund kasi, dadaan yan sa OCD. Tapos may specific uses lang na pwedeng lagyan ng calamity fund. Okay. So yun lang po. We lose our flexibility. So ang take ko po doon, I am very much open to reducing unprogrammed appropriations, pero sana po we retain the purposes that are really needed.
So having said that, mga magkano po yung nakikita natin na possible na ma-retain from the 243 currently?
So out of the 243, very, very, very ballpark lang po. And it's a little bit difficult to commit at the moment because I think we need to have that ongoing conversation with the Senate. But definitely we have to retain the 133 billion under FAPS as showed earlier. Nandiyan po yung 133 billion. Kung hindi man yung kabuuan, parang hirap mag-commit on the values po because we need to take a look at that. We need to retain some for AFP modernization. Kung hindi man po yung buong 50 billion, pwede po tayong magtira doon. Kailangan po kasi talaga ng armed forces natin ng kadagdagang tulong para po sa mga kagamitan. Budgetary support to GOCCs, even if it's not that whole amount, we need to put some on standby. Ano pa ba yung pwede nating i-reduce? Marawi Siege Victims Compensation Program, sana matira po natin yan kasi that's been a long-standing program at ang tagal na po yan, hindi po natatapos yung pagbibigay po natin ng tulong ng compensation sa lahat po ng mga biktima ng Marawi Siege. And sana po yung insurance premium. Kung hindi man sila komportable sa buong 2 billion, kailangan po sana nating magtira just for unforeseen circumstances. So, sorry po for not being able to provide the specific number, but those are the items that we can explore po.
Okay. Your comment dito sa sinabi ni Representative Tino na mayroon daw pong backdoor para mapondohan pa rin yung locally funded infrastructure project. Sabi niya mayroon daw 4.9 billion na natira sa capital outlay at mayroon daw pong provision sa unprogrammed appropriations na nagpapahintulot sa DBM na dagdagan ito ng kahit magkano mula sa iba pang mga pondo sa unprogrammed appropriations. He sought to get that provision removed daw po pero hindi na aprobahan.
Meron kasing dun po may dalawang I remember the special provision that Representative Tino was referring to. The DBM is authorized to one, approve specific disbursements, and second po to be able to reallocate. Kung ang takot po ng ating distinguished colleague would be may backdoor method for funding locally funded infrastructure projects, more specifically flood control projects. Wala na po dito. If you would see the purposes that we've allowed, wala na pong pwedeng pasukan ng flood control eh. Sandali lang po. Ayan. Wala na pong pwedeng pasukan ng flood control projects dito. So most definitely not locally funded. So even though DBM has the power to reallocate, if you would look at the safeguards that we've put in, wala na po dito na pwedeng pasukan ng locally funded flood control projects. Even roads, even bridges, hindi na po pwede. The only infrastructure projects allowed here would be, especially under DPWH and DOTR, would be those pertaining to foreign assisted projects. So, yun po din yung binanggit ko sa ating kasamahan nung plenary deliberations that we have put in the safeguards to make sure hindi po maaabuso at wala pong backdoor way na mapasukan po ito na locally funded projects.
Okay, Senate Finance Committee Chair Gatchalian is saying gusto niya limited yung discussion ng BICAM to the disagreeing provisions lang of the House and Senate versions of the GAB. Unlike before, parang yung AKAP sa BICAM ba yun na ilagay? Hindi raw magkakaroon ng reincarnation nitong AKAP. Your comment.
In terms of sagutin ko po muna yung sa AKAP, definitely wala pong maging reincarnation yung AKAP. That's an assurance that we can give on the part of the House. Yung pangalawa po, in terms of the what do you call this, the discussion, yun naman po, napag-usapan po namin yan ni Senator Gatchalian. We've had a meeting before just to align on what the priorities are, the transparency measures are, and the reforms are on the part of the House and the Senate. And yes, that is the goal, na yung disagreeing provisions po ng House at ng Senado, yung ating tatalakayin sa BICAM. Ayaw po natin, at alam ko yun din po yung gustong iwasan ng ating mga kasamahan sa Senado, ayaw po natin na magkaroon ng isang buong panibagong body na para bang gumawa ka ng pangatlong level na naayos na sa House, naayos na naamyendahan na sa Senado, tapos biglang may bago kang body na babaguhin mo lahat. Yun din po yung gusto nating iwasan sa parte ng Kamara. So definitely, we will focus on the disagreeing provisions between the House version and the Senate version of the General Appropriations Bill.
Thank you
On that note, we end the press com today. Maraming salamat, Kong Bika Sonsing. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat.
Thank you very much po.